Martin, The Protege is badass. It's action-packed thrill ride with great characters and dynamic relationships. First question I have for you, sir, is what attracted you to The Protege?
Money. No. See, I didn't get much of that actually, but really was the story. You know, it was a very interesting story written by Richard Wenk, and unusual for a film like this because most of these sort of female assassin or even male assassin stories, the stories aren't. They take second banana to the action and everything else. But this was a really intriguing story with intriguing relationships. So it was the combination of those two that really got me going.
Now, speaking of those relationships, one of the dynamic relationships in this is Anna, played by Maggie Q, and her mentor and adoptive father, Moody, played by Sam Jackson. Can you talk to me about their relationship and working with Sam and Maggie in the collaboration process on The Protege?
Yeah, you know, it was very simple. We only have that scene at the beginning, or there's a couple of scenes actually with Maggie and Sam. But the key was to actually establish that very close relationship, father-daughter relationship, if you will, between them both. Because later on, you know, things change. But that was the key to that relation. And both Maggie and Jack, Sam are sort of superb actors. So, you know, they understood that. And that's how we rehearsed it. And that's really in that one big scene, or there's a smaller scene afterwards, that was the real estate we had in the script to actually establish their relationship, if you see what I mean.
Now, Maggie's almost a protege herself in real life, training under Jackie Chan, who you've worked with in the past in The Foreigner. Sure. What did Maggie bring to the role of Anna that wasn't necessarily on the page?
Well, you know, all the actors bring something to it. I mean, if they're good actors, what happens is that they really raise the level of a film. Now, all those three actors did that. I mean, she unquestionably, because she's on the movie, on the screen just about all of the time, or a lot of the time. And Sam Jackson is, we all know he's terrific because he's one of those wonderful chameleon-like actors who can really kind of elevate the thing. And of course, Michael Keaton, you know, we all know Michael is a terrific actor, but also such an interesting actor. You know, yeah. I mean, he never quite, he always does something interesting with the part. There's something slightly, and in this case, the character is rather enigmatic. You don't quite know who he is. You know, what you do know is that, of course, he's an assassin and she's an assassin, and therein lies the competitive spirit between them both. So all three actors, I think, really brought the script up to a level.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that some of the scenes with Rembrandt, played by the great Michael Keaton, and Anna, played by Maggie Q, are amazing. And the scenes, it's almost like a cat and mouse game. Can you talk about the relationship between Rembrandt and Anna in this film?
Yeah, you know, the relationship is very simple. They meet. There's no question that even when they first meet in the bookshop, there is some kind of chemistry between them, you know. And Michael's got this quirky thing talking about handing her the card. There's some very interesting dialogue between them both, right? And then, of course, he pulls that flanker when he goes to the door and he starts quoting the book, etc., etc. So she's intrigued, if you see what I mean, right from the word go. Neither knows who the other is, if you see what I mean. They're both completely oblivious to who they really are, each other is. And then, of course, they meet. In fact, they meet in a cell. And then, you know, we learn that Michael is an assassin and she is an assassin. They're both equally balanced, I think. They're both very skillful at their job, very competitive in terms of their relationship. And there's also a sexual chemistry between them, no doubt about that. But I don't think either is prepared to take one step back in order to accommodate the other. So there's that, you know, that.
It's always fun to watch the two of them because you never know who has the advantage in the scene because they're so good in those roles. Now, look, Martin, you're no stranger to action with films like The Foreigner, Casino Royale, GoldenEye, and the Zorro films. What was your approach to action in The Protege?
Very simple. Action is, first of all, it should be character based. That's number one. You see a lot of movies where there are tons of action and they're escaping 5 million machine gun bullets and all that rubbish that they, you know what I mean? It's just garbage, that stuff. And the point is that with action, I think it's got to be character motivated. I also think that you've got to make the action interesting. You've got to make it perhaps something that is a little unusual, a little different to what you've seen before. And that's what we tried to do in the Protege, even with Maggie, when she's in the cell and so forth, the way she gets out of that, it's slightly different. You haven't seen it before. So that's what makes it interesting,
I mean, that's the great thing about this movie. A lot of the action beats that I've seen, it was almost like watching them for the first time. And Maggie, let me just say, Maggie and her stunt ability, she's phenomenal. And I wanted to talk about that for a second. Can you talk to me about working with her in the action sequences? She was trained by the great Jackie Chan, and she did a phenomenal job in this movie.
Yeah, well, the point is that she helps too. We had a very good stunt arranger. We shot this in Romania, this movie, and a little bit in Bulgaria. But the point is that we had a very good stunt arranger, Romanian guy. And I always talk the sequences with him and tell him what I need out of the sequence. For example, a fight between Maggie and Rembrandt is really foreplay, if you see what I mean.
Absolutely.
That's what that scene's about. And so that was what we aimed to do. And I think we achieved it. I hope we achieved it. It was very important early on. Michael is an assassin. He's lethal. And in that fight in the alleyway, you just had to see him kick some ass there, and at the end of it, when he's got that hammer, it's all, you really set him up as someone who, underneath that kind of weirdly funny exterior, quirky exterior,
right?
There's a killer. This is a guy who will stop at nothing if he has to in order to win. And and their relationship was obviously essential. But the action, in each case, we looked at it and said, let's make this a little different. How long the action goes on is really important. If it goes on too long, it outstays its welcome. Then you know what I mean. It's so really that's the principle.
Now, with a film like this, The Protege, I mean, you have so many action beats in this, but the story, I mean, the relationship between almost father and daughter, between Anna and Moody, and even Anna and her own father, she is kind of explored, in an adoptive parent kind of way. Can you talk about the father relationship that we see Anna kind of explore in this film?
Well, I just took it that Moody was really the father. She was the daughter. He's protected her. He's basically kind of saved her life as they've taken her with him. And so it's really a father-daughter relationship, albeit an adoptive father, but she's an adoptive daughter, but really we treated it on that level of a father-daughter, both very close, if you see what I mean.
Absolutely.
And of course they team up as a double act, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
And later on in the movie, we try and explain via flashback why she kind of is good, where that stems from, if you see what I mean.
Right, absolutely. Now, look, Martin, you're an amazing director, and the action you put in your films is out of this world. And you've done superhero movies in the past. Switching gears for a second, like the Green Lantern, and especially in DC. With David Ayer having the Suicide Squad, the release of the Ayer cut, and Zack Snyder with the release of Snyder cut. Is there a cut of Green Lantern, the Martin Campbell released the Green Lantern cut floating around out there somewhere?
No. The answer to that, well, put it this way. I did have my cut. The point was, right at the beginning of the movie, there was a whole sequence where he's a kid. He's an 11-year-old kid, and it's how his father dies and the air crash, which was I thought a really good sequence. But Jeff Rabinoff, the head of, the production head at the time, decided that he wanted the death of the father intercut with Hal. Is that what I got?
Hal Jordan. Yep.
Hal Jordan. Hal plunging in the plane, and these flashbacks come to him. And that was something that I didn't like very much. But you know what? the film did not work really. That's the point. And I'm partly responsible for that. I shouldn't have done it because, with something like Bond, I love Bond. I've watched every Bond film just before I ever directed it. Superhero movies are not my cup of tea, and for that reason, I should have done it. But, directors always have to carry the can for the failures. What do they say? Success has many fathers, right? Failure has one. That's me.
Right. Well, look, The Protege is amazing, and I can't wait for everyone to see it. And I experienced it on the big screen, and wow, it was amazing to watch. But Martin, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thanks very much indeed.
Take care, sir.